starters, we're going to be doing shading this shading this time. So not entirely colouring techniques etc yet. I'm going to put those all in separate tutorials because there is a lot to go through when you've got texturing and your folds and everything for clothes. So this one is just for your basics, where your basic shadows go depending on light and everything like that. So I got some basic shapes. I'm just going to move these down here a little bit so they're all in the same kind of area. And we're going to roughly show, I guess, the basics. So first things first, what we have here is, I'm putting it on another layer, we're going to have our sun up this way. Actually, if I'm going to put these all in a line because it's going to irritate me. Okay, it's all in a line. Look at that, it's magical. Okay, so this here is our sun, and on another layer, this here is our moon. Okay, this is where the lighting is coming from. There, so that's our lighting. Everything is going to be based on where the sun is. Obviously, I've put the moon in the opposite direction because that's where it's darker. The light's not going to be able to hit if it casts a shadow on it. So, now we're just going to create another layer, and I'm just going to change it to a little bit of a lighter colour. Okay, so the first things first, we have our cube. So this one's the easiest one, and I thought it would be fairly useful considering most of my fans and a lot of my friends etc all draw Minecraft, so being able to shade a cube is probably the easiest. Now what happens is the sun is going to be hitting more of the top, so we're going to have no light coming from this side because the sun can't directly hit it, so there's a casted shadow this way. And to be honest, if it's hitting from directly on the top, you won't get any light on this one either. So both of those are going to end up being shaded. With the circle, most of your light hits on this part, so it hits right here. With that, the majority is going to be on the other side, so you're actually going to have shadows curving all the way around. This helps define the shape as well. So you've got your shadows literally curving, and there leaves like another circle in the middle, which is your highlights. Now, one thing you need to remember, and a lot of people, especially beginners, always do this. Okay, and one thing that people always forget, and a lot of beginners do this, is what they call pillow shading. Now, pillow shading is it's very common, and I used to do it as well when I was a beginner. And that's when you go all the way around and pretty much just leave it right in the middle. It is not clean, crisp, it doesn't help define the shape, it just kind of looks like a blob. So you really need to remember to define your shape depending on where the sun is coming from. You're going to have to shade it that way. Now going on to the person figure, they've got a roundish head, so for the moment it's going to be shadowed on one side, shadowed underneath just where the neck and the shoulders meet, because your head's going to be casting a little bit of a shadow, so it's going to be a lot darker on one side than the other. The light's not going to be able to hit just under your chin because your chin obviously has a bit more depth etc, so it actually covers the majority of the light coming on your neck, and it does also cover some on your shoulders depending on again where the sun's coming from. It's going to go straight down this way, and it's going to go down one side of this leg and down the side of the arm. That is the basics for your shadow on just your average chibi, and it will depend obviously if you have a person with a set figure, because they're going to have a different kind of chest etc. It will be dependent on that as well, so you will have to account for things that are raised a bit and things that aren't. So obviously if it's raised, then underneath is going to be a lot sharper shadow because there is going to be no way that the sun can hit that. And then going on to our triangle, the sun is coming from this way, so this one is easily visible. You can actually have a little bit like a very light shadow coming from that side. Okay, now what we're going to do, we'll take away the moon, we're going to move our sun directly over the top. Okay, so again, this way it's going to be hitting again, it'd be hitting the top, so these ones are pretty set. This one's going to be darker, this side. It's going to be darker than this side. So this side can be dark, but just a little bit lighter than this one. Because this one, there is no way any light is actually going to hit it. Because the sun is coming from the top on this one, you're going to need to curve that and literally have it all the way around the top. You can put a tiny bit around the edge, but not too much, because most of the light is coming from that side. So, we're just gonna... Everyone's noisy. Okay, and next we have our person. Now there's going to be a lot more shadows on the neck and shoulders, because again, it's going to be covering most of it. And there's actually not going to be a whole lot of shadows. There will be some on the knees, because the knees don't actually, they go in. Where your knees head out, the rest of the leg actually goes in a little bit, and you will notice that if you look in the mirror. So, worst case scenario, the mirror and even references or basic pictures all over the internet are going to be your best friend. I have been drawing for a long time, and I still use the internet, etc. Places like DeviantArt, Google. Just look up a reference image of what you're drawing, and that will help you if you don't understand the basic shadows for it. For the triangle, it's a bit more tricky because there's the light coming from the top, and it will come on all sides, so you can generally just gradient shadow from the bottom up. Okay, and next up we might as well put the sun from underneath. This is one I don't often do, but obviously it is useful. So this time, this one's going to be the darkest. These ones are going to be semi-light, but they will still be dark because the sun's not hitting them directly. The circle is going to be more like this, because you've got you do actually, with one thing I did forget with a round object. With a round object, you often get it's kind of like a reflective shadow. So it actually goes all the way around the outside, and you actually get like a highlighted piece around the outside. And that's just before, like, you'd have your line art, etc. And it helps define the face a lot more as well. And make sure you curve it so you follow the shape a bit, and that helps define it, because the shadows are really going to define your picture, and in most cases it's the biggest part of when you draw. With the human, the majority is like with your nose and where your mouth is, it is raised a little bit, and where your eyes go in there's actually a dip, so there's going to be a lot less colour. It's going to be like a big shadowy piece where the eyes that go, but there will still be a little bit of light at the top, because when it comes from directly underneath, there we go, the forehead is actually raised a little bit, same with your eyebrows, so that'd be alright. And then you've just got your gradiented one for that one, although that one will actually be completely coloured because it's coming from directly underneath. You will still get it on your shadow, on your shoulders, and you will still get it on certain parts of the body. You'll probably get it on the upper part of the knee instead of the bottom, because of where it's heading. So that's your basics for that kind of shadow. Every time I normally draw something, obviously I'm going to be thinking very carefully about where everything needs to be placed, what's raised, what's not. So for instance, if you've got a girl, for instance, obviously certain parts of the figure is going to be dipped in and some aren't, so we have to actually take notice of that when you're drawing, otherwise it does become a little bit of a problem later, because if there's a difference if you draw it flat. So I draw a quick person. Please excuse my messy sketch, just for the basics on this. Okay, we're just going to give her some really crappy hair. I will do a tutorial on here, I've been asked, but I will leave that for a little bit of a later date, because I'll have to obviously go into a lot more detail. Okay, so we have a person. Not a very good one, but it'll do. So this is just for the basics of shadows once again, because we're going to have to do some basics on it. Been putting it into practice. So I'm not going to go into folds at the moment, so I will make it pretty plain and easy. I will go into folds in another time, so yes, I will keep that going. Alright, so now we have our basics. The sun is going to be coming from this direction. So this is where the sun is. It's very happy to meet you. You know what, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm just going to make her a cat. Whoops, I keep doing the zero's ears. I need to stop. Not all cats have zero's ears. There we go. So we have our person. What we're going to do now is the hair, just underneath the hair, the sun can't hit it. The sun is hitting the hair, which means underneath there's going to be a cast shadow. So that underneath is going to actually be darker. Same with this bit. And down here. So that's all going to be a lot darker, and there's also a dip in the face, so this actually can be all coloured in. So that's your first basics. The sun is hitting this way, so it's not going to be hitting this part of the ear, or the inside of this one. You're probably going to have a little bit of shadow in the inside of the ear as well, just where the sun can't hit it. For here, we're not defining how to shade here at the moment. This is just for shadow purpose. So for here, it's hitting roughly about the top of the head, but it's not going to be hitting the side. So we're going to completely colour this in. It's not hitting there, and it's not hitting this part. So, and obviously it's not hitting down here. So the sun's hitting this bit and all of this. So everything else is not being touched. With the neck, now you got the light coming from this way, so it's going to be casting a shadow kind of like this. That way. Because the sun is hitting the head first, so you're not going to get any shadow underneath that. There's also going to be a shadow on this side of the face, because obviously the sun is coming from this angle, and again you'll have it where the nose is, because the nose has structure to it. So there's a dip on one side, and there would normally be a dip on the other side, but you can only see one side of it on that kind of face, so we should be right for that. It will be down one side of the t-shirt where the arm is, so down there, and again you'll have one down the side of the t-shirt as well where her hips and that would be. For knowledge, I can't really get into too much on detail on this because it's just basics, but around the chest, obviously there is raised parts on this chest, so underneath will be shadows, so we'll just put it like this for now. There will be folds in it, obviously that's something we'll learn later. It takes a while to learn folds, but folds and shading, it all works in together. It's just this is the very basics. Again, underneath the t-shirt you're going to have shadows, because the t-shirt's not stuck to your skin, which means also under here you're going to have another shadow, because again the t-shirt's not stuck to your skin. And what it does is it's loose, so the looser it is, I guess the biggest shadow is going to be underneath it, because it's covering a lot more, but it's also showing what's underneath, so you got a little bit more of a shadow on that one. You would normally shade a part under the eye as well, because it is going to be shaded as well. So for the majority, this is pretty much how you're going to go for it. Always define it depending on where the sun is coming from, so you've got to make sure that you decide where you're going to place it first when you're colouring. Also, it will affect certain things depending on the pose and everything. Generally speaking, the best idea is to look up references if you don't have that pose, etc., or anything that ties in, I guess, with that. So if you really need the extra help, always go for a picture. If you understand the basics, it's not too bad, because you can generally judge it without too much trouble. So anyway, I hope this helped you guys. It's nothing really too detailed, it's pretty much just for the people who are starting out, don't really understand shadows too well. So I hope this helped. If you have any questions, just pop them down in the comments. I am quite happy if you do a suggestion for what you'd like me to teach you next. Please understand that I'm not going to be teaching you exactly how to draw my style, because I would like to teach you how to develop your own rather than just everyone copying me. I think I would prefer to see everyone's style develop on their own, because for me it's a whole heap of new styles, etc., that I get to see, so I really enjoy that. So yeah, I hope I helped you guys out, and just, you know, like and share the video if you enjoyed it. That will help me put out some more, because I can't really do much if it doesn't really get around. So yeah, I'll see you all guys. I'll see you all later. Me no English. Yeah. Okay. Bye.